Blackpoint, we help Medicare beneficiaries learn about the A, B, C's, and D's of Medicare, and we help agents and brokers nationwide learn to launch, grow, and retain their businesses. Through that process, I meet some amazing individuals, side hustlers, entrepreneurs, people who are in their encore careers, all kinds of dynamic people who are doing great things in the community, giving back. And today, for the first time, I'm so excited, we're having on the show our first inventor and the owner of 2 patents for the Angel Coffee Maker Thermos. I'm sure he's considering Shark Tank, but he's going to feature his product right here on the show, and you are going to be amazed by the Angel Coffee Maker Thermos. I know that I have been amazed by it. I can't wait to buy one of those for each member of my team. They're great for everyday coffee drinking and especially great for camping. I'm so stoked on it, and I can't wait to bring this product to all of you and introduce my client, my friend, Greg Larsen. So Greg, welcome to the show.
Hi, Erin.
Hi, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Doing great. I'm over here drinking my coffee, Greg. I'm still enjoying it. Yes, perfect. Greg, you did a great demo for me of how the coffee is made. I even did the bitter test, so I got to taste day-old coffee that tasted just as good as the freshly brewed. I couldn't believe it, so we'll tell everybody about that coming up here. But I'm really excited about the coffee. I just can't believe a coffee drinker like myself, we've waited this long to get you on the show, so welcome.
Thank you very much.
You got it. So, Greg, tell me a little bit about your background. I know you told me when we've talked before that you grew up in Saudi Arabia. How did that influence you? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My grandfather, after World War II, my grandfather took his 2 twin daughters and his son over to Saudi Arabia, and there, my dad went to Saudi Arabia as an engineer after World War II also. So that's where he met my mom. And so I grew up.
Now, I know there's a good story about how he met your mom. You got to share that with us.
Okay. Well, after World War II, when they discovered oil in Saudi Arabia, at first, it was the Americans and the Brits that went over there to get things started. And of course, when you're building new infrastructure in the middle of the desert, there aren't a lot of zoning codes you have to put up with. You can build whatever you want. And the administration building was a 1-story building, kind of real long. It just had a central walkway aisle that, everybody, very wide, that everybody walked up and down. And there were secretaries at the entrance of each office to the right and left. And my mom, being an identical twin, you know how twins are, they like to dress alike. So my dad passed this woman and was thinking, oh, she's kind of cute. And he's a big guy and he's walking fast in a straight line, and he gets to the other end of the building and there's the same woman. So
the twin switcheroo.
Yeah, he got twin. And so my dad just had to stop and ask the second woman. My mom says, how'd you beat me down here? I was walking fast in a straight line. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here.
That's a great story. I love it. So that was the beginning of Greg Larsen right there. So tell me about, all those experiences that your family had that kind of influenced who you are and your desire to be an entrepreneur.
My dad, being an engineer, he's very creative. He actually rose to be executive vice president of the Arabian American Oil Company.
Wow. Okay.
I'm sure there might even, on your show, there might even be some, you hear about Army brats. The name of the oil company over there was Aramco. In World War II, they had acronyms for everything. And I think the way they came up with Aramco was AR for Arabian, AM for American, and CO for company, Aramco.
And interesting.
Because coming right off World War II, they were still in that military mindset of, how they talk to one another and everything. And so my dad was a very creative guy. He was always doing, as a father, he was always doing things, using something for a purpose for which it was not intended. And being around this all the time, you can't help but through osmosis pick up a little bit of this. And also growing up in Saudi Arabia, really a third world country back then, the local people, when you go to the souk, which means the marketplace, they were always doing things, being very innovative and creative with the resources they had to get the results that they want. Here in America, we tend to think, oh, this particular product does this and you can't use it for anything else. We have that very narrow mindset. Over there, they would, think outside the box, and because of being in a different culture like that, that kind of also influenced my thinking along with my dad to always make me, when I come across a problem, a lot of people, they think to themselves, oh, I have a problem. Okay, well, it's a bad day. I'm going to go do something else. What an inventor learns to do is when you have a problem, and a lot of Americans are like this. In fact, I think I'm not sure, but I think the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office was either the first or second building in Washington, D.C. That's how much the founding fathers placed on invention. And so what an inventor, the way you adjust your mind is that when you come across a problem, you start thinking, how do I solve this problem? So from my dad and where I grew up, that's where I learned that.
Yeah, pretty cool. So you had this whole career in law and doing all these other things, but it sounds like these early influences really had a lot more to do with you having this desire to be creative and be an entrepreneur. Would you say that's on the right track?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
yeah,
why
like
coffee?
I've got I got 3 college degrees, but really it's my practical experience that I've been relying on. I like to say that I'm overeducated and underexperienced.
That's perfect, right? So why coffee? Tell me about the love of coffee and why you were interested in this and how you got the spark for your idea.
Okay. I just love, you either like coffee or you don't. A lot of kids.
I'm a fan, Greg. I'm solidly in your camp. Wish I thought of it.
It's so funny. Coffee seems to be age dependent. A lot of kids, if they taste coffee, I don't like this, But then by the time they turn 14 or 16, it's like, okay, where's my cup of coffee? So there's kind of how I came up with this invention, and this was my first invention. I now have a patent on a second invention, and I've got 3 or 4 others in the hopper. But what I used to have a running coffee contest with my neighbor 2 doors down. She's a very good chef and she loves her coffee. She's French and loves her coffee. And so it was a friendly contest. We would share ideas about what coffee beans we liked and what brewers we liked. And one day she brought over 3 tablespoons of bulletproof coffee. And she said, in America, people barely know to get organic coffee rather than non-organic coffee. But in Europe, they go even further. They want to know if the coffee has any mold, yeast, or fungus in it, which can happen. And Bulletproof Coffee had a reputation for testing for mold to make sure that there was none of that in their coffee. So she leaves me with these 3 tablespoons of Bulletproof Coffee to try out. So I'm walking around the kitchen. I think, well, this is not enough coffee for my drip, my pour over, my French press, my AeroPress. How am I going to do this? And I thought, this is where I fell.
You sound like the true coffee lover. You got like every machine and apparatus available.
Yeah. And so I'm walking around the kitchen and I fall back on my time in Arabia, where I think I'll just brew it the way they used to brew. I saw them brew their coffee in the markets there. I'll just add, say, 3.5 ounces of hot water to every ounce of ground coffee and somehow strain it, and then I should have coffee and I can try it. But then I had the idea I didn't want to do it on the stovetop because I was thinking maybe I only had this precious 3 tablespoons and I could only do this once. And I'm thinking if I do it on the stovetop, I might lose all the flavor to evaporation. So I asked myself the question, how can I brew up this coffee without losing all the flavor? And I had a couple thermoses in the house, and I thought, well, a thermos can handle hot or cold. I'll just brew it up in the thermos. So I put the 3 tablespoons of coffee, and I added 10 or 11 ounces of hot water and left it in there 3 minutes like a French press. And then I poured it out through a strainer into a cup, and I tasted the coffee, and I went, whoa, this bulletproof coffee is amazing.
I'm on to something.
Yeah. I thought, boy, my neighbor really found a great coffee here. It was very smooth, flavorful, very low in acid, not very, very low in acid. And so a few days later, I thought, I wonder what would happen if I took the coffee that I'm used to and brewed that in a thermos. So I tried that and tasted it, and same reaction. Whoa, it's not the coffee, it's the brewing technique.
Right.
And what makes brewing coffee in a thermos, like my product, is that you're combining immersion brewing like a French press, but you're also adding a very small amount of pressure, a little to the brewing process. And what that does, that little bit of pressure, because you're brewing coffee in a sealed, you're adding hot water to a sealed container, the thermos. And what that does 2 things. One, it makes the coffee about 40 to 50% smoother than a French press. And furthermore, well, the French press, everybody who's tried a French press, you know that you can't let the coffee sit in the hot water more than 15 minutes or it gets bitter. Well, with the technique of brewing it in a sealed container, you can let that coffee brew literally overnight and it doesn't get more bitter. In fact, that's the coffee I brought you over, day old coffee. And yeah, and when you tasted the freshly brewed coffee, they were almost identical, right?
The only difference that I had was I didn't heat the day old coffee enough as compared to how hot the fresh coffee is made, but the taste was identical. I was surprised it wasn't bitter, because usually if I have a cup of coffee, like after it's been sitting there, it is disgusting, right? Like it's just so bitter and gross. And this tasted like a fresh cup of coffee. I was actually really amazed. When you told me that it worked like that, Greg, I had my doubts, but now I'm a true believer. I'm in.
I've even had coffee people tell me, it's an interesting claim you're making that the coffee doesn't get more bitter no matter how long it sits there, but it's true. I've made coffee it's called the Angel Coffee Maker Thermos, and I've made coffee, well over a year and a half, and every single time when I've made coffee at 2 in the afternoon. And then the next morning, I lift it up and shake it. I can tell there's coffee. I just pour it out, heat it in the microwave, and it tastes like a fresh cup of coffee.
Right. Well, I also feel like it's less waste. Like you could use your afternoon cold brew, and you can have your morning, and you can do any combination that you want. So that's pretty cool.
Right. Exactly.
So tell us, we're going to cut to a video. So Greg, you've made some really great videos on your website about the Angel Coffee Maker Thermos, but one of the ones that I really enjoyed was just the features video, which we're going to cut to in a minute here. But can you tell us a couple of the key features of the Angel Coffee Maker Thermos? You've been kind of sharing with us, but what would you highlight?
Sure. Let me show you. It's going to be a little hard to see. Whoops, I got to go right, left.
There it is.
It's a 32-ounce thermos. This makes 25 and a half ounces of coffee, which is enough for 4 small cups of coffee or 3 big cups. Now, it's made with 316 marine grade stainless steel. So it's very tough, perfect for camping. You're not going to break it. You can drop it on the ground. And the fact that the thermos keeps it very hot, and even the pour spout, it's going to be a little hard to see. Even
there we go.
Even the pour spout is lined with stainless steel. So I'm kind of an environmentalist. We eat organic and all that. So the coffee only touches stainless steel. Now let me just open it up. and kind of show you. It's a very simple product. Here's the underside. It's all stainless steel. Here's the thermos, and here's the screen that holds back the coffee grounds, and the screen just lifts out. And if I take a light and shine down into the thermos, if you can see that at all.
I can.
There you go. Okay, yeah, you can. Whoops. Okay, there you go. It's just a simple thermos, and the way, and you'll see the how brew video in a second. But you just you put your 8 tablespoons of coffee, more or less. You can add or subtract for your taste. You put it in the thermos, and then you add hot water about 3/4 of the way. You drop the screen in, add a little bit more water until you see the hot water just come through the screen. You don't fill to the top of the thermos, just the bottom of the screen. And then you just cap it up, wait 3 minutes like a French press, and when you're ready, you just pour it out into your coffee cup, and you keep the pour spout low. If you keep it high like this, that's wrong, because then the coffee water can come out the air hole. So you always keep the pour spout low.
Yeah.
And it claims.
Oh, go ahead, Greg.
I was just going to say, so it's rugged. It keeps your coffee hot it'll keep it blazingly hot for 3 hours and nicely warm up to 5 hours. So it's made out of superior materials, not just stainless steel, but 316 marine grade stainless steel. Keeps it hot. And the amazing thing for the taste is by combining immersion brewing and pressure brewing, you get this incredibly flavorful coffee without why do people drink light medium roast coffee? Because they can't handle the bitterness of the dark French roast, even though the dark French roast has all the flavor. So now in your Angel Coffee Maker Thermos, you can brew dark French roast and get all the flavor without the acid.
Yeah. It's amazing. Before we flash to the features video, which will even elaborate more on what Greg's been sharing with us, I'll just comment as a user. I couldn't believe how remarkably sturdy the product is, how it's easy to lift, but yet large enough to hold 3 big cups of coffee. Because if you're a coffee drinker like me, every day I'm getting my 3 cups. Nutritionists out there, don't listen to that, but I do. I definitely getting my 3 cups of it. And it's absolutely delicious and sturdy, and I feel like really a quality item. I was telling Greg how whenever we go camping, it's like so rustic and just archaic because I'm getting these little packets and I'm trying to put hot water, and it's just really not a great experience when camping to have coffee. And with Greg's invention, literally all I have to do is bring my good quality coffee from home. I can use his Angel Coffee Maker Thermos, add hot water, use the stir technique that he'll show you in the how brew video, and I've got delicious coffee. I think I might even want to go camping this summer, Greg, now that I'm going to have my thermos. So this is pretty cool stuff. So we're going to flash to that video right now.
To brew coffee, you simply unscrew the lid, you remove the screen. In the thermos, you just drop in your roughly 8 tablespoons of coffee. And then what you do is you fill the thermos up to about 3/4 of the way with hot water. And you take a long-handled spoon. You take a long-handled spoon like this guy, and you just stir it. You could just roll it around, but we've done taste tests with the Will & Boot Coffee School, and they measured the extraction, and you get much better extraction when you stir. So then you put the screen, the screen's lovely. It just drops right in. You don't have to screw it or anything. You just put the screen in, and then you add more hot water. So the water you see the first bit of coffee drops peek up through the bottom of the screen, and that's where you stop. You don't fill up to the top of the thermos because you need that little bit of air gap, because when you put in hot water, the water will heat the air faster, and that creates the pressure.
Yeah.
Well, once you see a drop of coffee starting to come through, you stop. You just put the cap on, wait 3 minutes, and then open up the pour spout and pour out the coffee.
Pour and enjoy, right? That's what I have here, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and the pour spout's lovely.
We're going to flash over, Greg, to your How Brew video in a second, but I just want to comment to everyone how simple, quick, and easy this was to make really delicious coffee that lasts, no bitter taste. And the other thing that's really cool is how easy it is to clean it. That's me. I'm like always getting my appliances kind of gross and disgusting, and they're difficult to clean, but this is so simple because it really has this thermos design. You kind of rinse it out, it keeps it fresh. Greg was even showing me how it could convert from coffee maker to cocktail mixer in the evening hours because it's so clean and pure. If you love that video on the features of the Angel Coffee Maker Thermos, please be sure to give us a like. Tell us you want to order one. Greg is doing a special direct discount where he can make those thermoses available to you at a good rate on his website.